Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. Ripple, as it turns out, gave XRP, in fact, $10 million worth of XRP to the failed, bankrupt Ponzi scheme cryptocurrency exchange FTX. Now, there are all sorts of entities that lent out all sorts of crypto to FTX slash, sister company, if you will, Alameda Research. And you know that they did some dirty things with those holdings, like risking to the extreme those holdings and losing them to the tune of billions of dollars. Now there are all sorts of firms out there, including Genesis of Barry Silbert's digital currency group, that's part of his portfolio of companies, major firm. And I shared a video just yesterday that there's renewed talks about how it really looks like Genesis actually is going to go bankrupt. You're going to see the crypto contagion spread here. And so there are all sorts of firms that had extreme exposure to the Ponzi that was FTX. And yes, as it turns out, and this is news to me, Ripple did have unfortunately some exposure to FTX, but how much? Well, I'm going to share with you the number, but the good news is it's nowhere even near to the level of some of the other firms out there, which are in some serious trouble. Also, as it turns out, there's a chance, I kid you not, there's a chance that FTX, the Ponzi bankrupt cryptocurrency exchange, could make a return. I kid you not. And on this news breaking, and by the way, the news broke as a result of the guy that's handling, he's the guy in charge of FTX now, took over after the bankruptcy. He's a guy, I think he had previously been in charge of the aftermath of the Enron fiasco. Anyway, but the news broke that he said, yeah, actually, FTX might be restarted. And the FTX token, FTT, just like skyrocketed. What the hell is this world that we live in? If you're holding the Ponzi scheme token, FTX today, you did better than holding XRP. What in the ever-loving hell is that? Come on, people. Like, anyway, before going further, though, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. So here's a headline from the Crypto Basic. Brad Garlinghouse reveals Ripple had inconsequential FTX exposure of $10 million in XRP. Garlinghouse is not optimistic due to SBF's alleged fraud, but hopes Ripple can recover a substantial amount of the funds through the courts. Ripple Chief Executive Officer Brad Garlinghouse, in a recent fireside chat on CNBC's Tech Transformers at Davos, has disclosed that the blockchain payments company had exposure to FTX. Garlinghouse revealed that Ripple leased out about $10 million in XRP to the now bankrupt crypto exchange. And he said, quote, "We did have some exposure to FTX. I think we've publicly shared before there's around just over $10 million of XRP we had leased to FTX that they use for various things on FTX. I'm hopeful that through the bankruptcy process, we get some or all of it back, but it's not too consequential to the business," end quote. Okay, so it's kind of ball right there. He's like, it's just $10 million. sign a good sign coming from Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse. It's just $10 million. It's no big deal right there. Pocket change, right? Now, of course, I hope that they do ultimately get it back too. And $10 million, while an incredible sum to any normal human, for Ripple, just keep in mind, they've publicly stated that they have $1 billion, yes, billion with a B, in the bank. Literally $1 billion, flush with cash. They got quite the war chest there. So $10 million, that's a rounding error. So that actually is true for them. And in terms of exposure, in terms of how much they'd lend out, Ripple is never anywhere near the level of exposure to various potential, types of fault that could occur just by lending out all willy-nilly, as many entities did. They had very little exposure to this type of thing, which is good. In fact, and I'll get to the percentage, it's actually in the article, it's very low. Now, I personally do not recall ever hearing this. And if you have, let me know in the comment section below, because I literally, and maybe Brad Garlinghouse is right, or he could be misremembering, I don't know, not that it particularly matters. I'd never heard this before. And he says that he thinks that they let it out, but I'm not the only one that is like, I don't think I've heard that before. Not that I literally hear everything, but still, that's kind of a thing where if I had heard it, I think I would have recalled it. But anyway, Peace continues. Unsurprisingly, Garlinghouse's statements have raised some eyebrows as finance author and coach Linda P. Jones questioned the nature of the transaction. And here's a quote from Linda. Brad said they leased over $10 million of XRP to FTX. I don't remember Brad Garlinghouse or Ripple saying they leased XRP to anyone before. And then she asked if the digital asset investor Brad Kimes was aware of that. And I've talked about this on the channel like umpteen million times. That part's not a surprise to me that they've leased. That's part of what they do. It's been talked about for a long time in their quarterly XRP market report, which I cover every single time that they come out. But the $10 million specifically to FTX, that part I was unaware of. And maybe I just missed it. I do miss stuff from time to time. Despite my best to stay very much in the know with all things XRP. But anyway, Peace continues. However, it is worth noting that Ripple regularly provides short-term XRP leases to market makers and participants from XRP meant for sales per its quarterly reports. Usually, these leases are returned to Ripple. Per Ripple's last quarterly report in Q3 2022, the total amount of outstanding leases stood at 91.1 million XRP. It is currently unclear what guardrails are in place if a counterparty fails to return leased XRP. Yeah, well, of course, look, we're not privy to the specifics, but I would assume it's a contract similar to any type of thing where there's any sort of asset that would be lent out for some set period of time. There's some level of interest that would be paid, and legal, very clear, very firm legal text indicating here are the terms, must be returned so-and-so date, all that stuff. All the terms would be listed there, of course. We're just not privy to the specifics of what the contract would look like, but there's nothing weird or special about it just because it happens to be a cryptocurrency XRP. That's just a legal contract outside of not having anything specifically to do with like the code that is what makes up any given cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, XRP, so on and so forth. Peace continues. The Ripple chief asserted that it is unclear what the company will get back from the lease, considering Sam Bankman-Fried's alleged fraud. According to Garlinghouse, while other companies had too much exposure, Ripple's XRP lease represented only about 1% of its liquid assets. Ooh. If the other firms didn't have such broad, crazy exposure without all sorts of due diligence, perhaps they wouldn't be having such trouble. But Ripple, again, continuing to be the adult in the room, they're like, yeah, 1%. And frankly, to be fair, fine, technically, in a world where there's broader adoption of on-demand liquidity and broader adoption of crypto, I think that's going to be a higher percent. But even so, they're still behaving in a fiscally responsible fashion, I'd say. By all accounts, right? Based on all publicly available knowledge, anyway. Peace continues. Noting that he would rather not lose the money, the CEO said he is hopeful that Ripple will recover some or all of its funds during the bankruptcy proceedings. However, he asserts that it is not a detrimental loss to the business. And he said, quote, and for us, that I think represented about 1% of liquid assets, I would rather not lose that money. And I'm hopeful that through the bankruptcy process, we will get some or all of it back, but it's not too consequential to the business, end quote. Yeah, so he's not losing sleep over this. And they probably will get something back. That's a virtual certainty, as will all FTX victims, frankly. It's just a question of how much. And yes, billions of dollars worth of crypto assets are there. That's on the books. I can't remember the number. It might have been like even 5 billion. It's like a big number just in and of itself. But in terms of how much there should be, still a major, major problem. And then we have this. Here's a headline from Cointelegraph. FTX CEO says he is exploring rebooting the exchange. And this is like face palm, audible sigh. It's one of these moments. Because look, even if you have all new people in charge of FTX, if it were to be rebooted, and even if there is actual good technology, and super duper, but even if so, the brand is trash forever, okay? What are you going to restart? Are you going to call it something else, or is it still going to be FTX? Or like, how is this going to work? In a magical fantasy land where you restart it because, if not but for illegal activity, it would have worked. Okay, but so what? Who's going to trust this damn thing? I just don't see how this makes any damn sense. And so you could try this. I'm just saying, like, you listening to this, you tell me, if if FTX is relaunched, hell, even throw FTX US, let's say FTX US is relaunched. Are you going to use those platforms? Are you going to be, like, will you have 100% confidence? Like, even if they say that there's 100% new employees in charge of this, well, why would you even trust them anyway? Like, to what degree? They're just handed over the corpse of FTX, and even if it's all new people in charge, you're going to trust them because reasons. They didn't even build the damn thing, the technology or anything else. And if it's the same people in charge, I just, even if fine, they're not being prosecuted, which is why they're allowed to be in charge. Really? I don't know if y'all know this. There are other cryptocurrency exchanges. Why the rush into that? And so even in a fantasy land where this would be better for the victims out there, because, you know, then there's a new revenue stream and more money could potentially flow in and get back to the victims. Even if that's true, I still say, so what? This is weird fantasy land crap. Now, if it actually happens and the guy in charge now, he says it's on the table, okay, I'm still saying that's a really bad idea and I'm not interested. Okay, that's all I'm saying, man. So check it out. John Ray, who took over as CEO of cryptocurrency exchange FTX prior to bankruptcy proceedings, has reportedly set up a task force to consider restarting FTX.com. According to a January 19th report from the Wall Street Journal, Ray said everything was on the table, that's a quote, on the table, when it came to the future of FTX.com, including a potential path forward with rebooting the exchange. FTX Trading, doing business as FTX.com, was one of the roughly 130 companies under FTX Group that filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in November of 2022. Ray reportedly was considering reviving the crypto exchange as part of efforts to make users whole. FTX reported on January 17th that it had identified roughly $5.5 billion of liquid assets in its investigation, with more than $3 billion owed to its top 50 creditors. According to the FTX CEO, he considered feedback from some stakeholders who saw the exchange as a viable business. No. How about a spoonful of hell no and get the hell out of here? Absolutely not. No, triple no on top of that. Absolutely. I just can't believe that this is, and from John, this is about the last thing I expected to come out of this guy, honestly, it's John Ray guy. He seems like a sharp individual, and he's been just articulating the degree to which he's been blown away by the level of fraud, and also on top of that, mismanagement. As a, like, even if we're like let's say there were no fraud and it were a legitimate business, the degree to which it was poorly run, not even having like normal accounting work, for example, like, it's astonishing. We're like, yeah, let's bring that thing back. I don't think so, folks. But FTT pumped on the news. Here's a 24-hour chart. You see what it does. It's like a cliff, and you can climb it. So it's up, the FTX token, 22% over the last 24 hours. But this isn't the first time it started to move up. I just haven't been talking about it. Over the last 7 days, it's up 64%. Over the last 30 days, the FTX token is up 135%. Oh, people, what is wrong with you? Stop it. I just can't believe this. What do you do? Like, talk about playing with fire. I feel like it's infants playing with fire doing this nonsense. What is going on here? Don't give a baby a damn lighter, okay? I just, because what if they actually do figure out how to flick it and it turns on? I don't get it. I don't get it, man. No. The absolute answer, firm answer, hard pass, hard no. This all needs to cease to exist. And then just get as much as you can from the remnants of FTX and pay the most you can to the victims, and that's just going to have to be that. Now, if it comes back, okay, fine. I ain't going to touch the damn thing. Ain't a freaking chance in hell. The brand is ruined. Ruined. You have to say it like that when you're real serious. Not ruined. It's ruined. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon family sedan.